Snapped chain mid-ride? Don't panic. You don't need a bike shop or a ton of tools. In under 10 minutes, you can fix your BMX chain right at home, whether it's a broken link or a stiff joint. I'll walk you through every step, fast, simple, and beginner-friendly. Let's get your ride rolling again. 1. Understand the purpose of suspension. Suspension in a bicycle plays a crucial role in making your ride smoother and more controlled, especially on uneven or bumpy terrain. Its primary job is to absorb shocks and vibrations from the ground, whether it's potholes, rocks, or trails. Without suspension, every bump would transfer directly to your body, making the ride uncomfortable and harder to control. A good suspension system helps keep your tires in better contact with the ground, improving grip and stability. This is especially important in mountain biking or off-road cycling, where traction and balance are key. Even in city rides, having a basic suspension can reduce fatigue and make the overall experience much more enjoyable. Second, rigid suspension, no suspensio. Rigid suspension means the bike has no suspension system at all, neither in the front fork nor at the rear. The entire frame and fork are solid, with no shock-absorbing parts. These bikes are lightweight, simple, and require very little maintenance, which makes them popular for city commuting, road cycling, and some BMX bikes. While they don't offer any cushioning over bumps, they provide excellent power transfer from pedaling, making them efficient on smooth paved roads. However, they're not ideal for rough terrain or off-road trails because you'll feel every bump. If you mostly ride on flat, predictable surfaces and want a low-cost, low-maintenance option, a rigid bike is a practical choice. Third, front suspension, hardtail bikes. Front suspension, commonly found on hardtail bikes, means the bike has a suspension fork in the front but a rigid frame at the rear. This setup helps absorb shocks from the front wheel when riding over bumps, rocks, or rough trails, making the ride more comfortable and easier to control. Hardtail bikes are especially popular among mountain bikers and trail riders because they strike a balance between comfort, control, and efficiency. They're lighter and less expensive than full suspension bikes, and they also require less maintenance. For riders who enjoy a mix of on-road and light off-road cycling, hardtail bikes are a solid choice. 4. Rear suspension, rare on its own. Rear suspension on its own, without front suspension, is quite rare in bicycles. This setup involves a shock absorber, attached to the rear part of the frame to absorb impacts from the back wheel. While it can provide comfort by softening the ride for the rider, it lacks front-end control, which is essential for handling rough terrain. That's why rear-only suspension is not commonly used. When it is found, it's usually on very specific utility or comfort bikes, or low-cost full suspension lookalikes that don't offer real performance benefits. In most quality bikes, if there's rear suspension, there's also front suspension, making it a full suspension bike for balanced performance. 5. Full suspension, dual suspension bikes. Full suspension bikes, also known as dual suspension bikes, have both front and rear suspension systems. Setup offers the highest level of shock absorption, making them perfect for rough, technical, or downhill trails. The front suspension fork softens impacts to the arms and hands, while the rear shock absorbs hits from the back wheel, reducing strain on the rider's body. Full suspension bikes provide better traction, control, and comfort, especially on rocky, uneven terrain. However, they are generally heavier and more expensive than hardtail bikes, and require more maintenance due to the added moving parts. If you're into aggressive trail riding, downhill racing, or long off-road adventures, full suspension is the way to go. 6th, suspension. Seat posts. Suspension seat posts are a clever way to add comfort to your ride without a full suspension system. These seat posts have built-in springs or elastomers that compress slightly when you hit bumps, reducing the shock transferred to your lower back and hips. They're especially useful for riders who spend long hours on the saddle, like touring cyclists or commuters. While they don't offer the same level of shock absorption as full rear suspension, they make a noticeable difference on rough roads or gravel paths. Suspension seat posts are lightweight, affordable, and easy to install, making them a popular upgrade for comfort-focused bikes like hybrids, e-bikes, and city cruisers. 7th, suspension stems. Suspension stems are designed to reduce the vibrations and shocks that travel through the handlebars into your hands and arms. Installed where the handlebars connect to the frame, a suspension stem uses a small spring or elastomer mechanism to absorb impacts from rough roads, potholes, or gravel paths. This makes riding more comfortable and reduces hand fatigue, especially on longer rides or uneven surfaces. While they're not as common as suspension forks, suspension stems are a great option for commuters, touring cyclists, and anyone looking for a smoother ride without investing in a full suspension setup. They're simple to install and work well with rigid forks on hybrid or city bikes. 8. Coil versus air suspension. When it comes to bicycle suspension, there are two main types, coil and air. Coil suspension uses a metal spring to absorb shocks. It's durable, consistent, and performs well under heavy loads, which makes it great for downhill or rugged terrain. On the other hand, air suspension uses compressed air in a chamber. It's much lighter and more adjustable. You can fine-tune the air pressure based on your weight and riding style. Air shocks are popular in cross-country and trail bikes where weight savings matter. Both types have pros and cons. Coil offers plush, predictable performance, while air gives you lighter weight and customization. Choosing between the two depends on how and where you ride. 9. Suspension travel. Suspension travel refers to how much a suspension system can compress to absorb impact, usually measured in millimeters. In simple terms, it's how much bounce your suspension can handle. More travel means more shock absorption, which is ideal for aggressive mountain biking or downhill trails. For example, a downhill bike might have up to 200 millimeters of travel, while a cross-country bike typically has 80 to 120 millimeters. Less travel makes the bike more efficient on flat terrain by reducing energy loss. So, choosing the right amount of suspension travel is all about your riding style. More for rough, steep trails, less for smoother roads or lighter trail use. 10. Choose suspension based on riding style. Choosing the right suspension depends entirely on how and where you ride. If you stick to smooth city roads or paved paths, a rigid bike with no suspension is lightweight, efficient, and easy to maintain. For mixed terrain like gravel and light trails, a front suspension hardtail bike offers better control and comfort without too much added weight. But if you love tackling rough mountain trails, steep descents, or technical terrain, a full suspension bike is the best choice. It gives you maximum shock absorption and control. Riders focused on comfort over performance might also consider bikes with suspension seat posts or stems. In short, match your suspension to your terrain and riding goals to get the best performance and comfort. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a like, share it with your fellow riders, and subscribe to the channel for more cycling tips and gear guides. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Got a question about suspension or want to share your own setup? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're ready to keep learning, check out our next video on beginner mountain biking or explore our top 5 bike upgrades to take your ride to the next level. 6. Reinstall the chain. Now that your chain is repaired and the link moves smoothly, it's time to reinstall the chain onto your BMX. Start by wrapping the chain around the front chain ring and rear cog, making sure it sits correctly in the teeth of both. If your bike has a derailleur, some BMXs do for gear setups, thread the chain through it carefully. Once it's in place, pull the pedals backwards slowly to guide the chain through the drivetrain. Keep an eye out for any tight spots or misalignment. Everything should rotate smoothly without jumping or skipping. If you're using a quick link, give it one last pull to fully lock it in place during rotation. After the chain is seated, spin the cranks a few times and bounce the rear tire to make sure everything feels tight and secure. And that's it. Your BMX chain is back on and you're ready to ride. 7. Identify the damaged link. Now that the chain is clean, it's time to identify the damaged link. Hold the chain up or lay it flat and slowly run your fingers along each section. Look closely for signs of wear, a broken plate, a bent pin, or a stiff link that doesn't flex like the others. You might also notice a gap where the chain broke entirely. Rotate the pedals gently if the chain is still on the bike, and watch for any link that skips, catches, or moves unevenly. In some cases, the damage may be subtle, a slightly twisted link, or one that's rusted and stuck. Wiggle each link back and forth to check if they move freely. A properly functioning link should bend smoothly side to side without resistance. Once you've found the problem area, you're ready for the next step, removing the chain so you can fix it properly. End screen. And that's it. Your BMX chain is fully repaired and ready to ride. If this video helped you out, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really supports the channel and lets me know you want more content like this. Don't forget to subscribe for more easy and effective BMX maintenance tips, tricks, and ride tutorials. If you got stuck on any step or have your own method to share, drop it in the comments below. I read and reply to as many as I can. And if you're hungry for more, check out the repair playlist linked right here on the screen. Keep your bike dialed, ride safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.